Okay, there we go.
Alright. So here we are. We got Scream 6 here. I have this man who has not said his thoughts yet. I want to hear what you think of Scream 6. You were pretty quiet when we walked out. I was kind of like, ooh, they did this, and I was kind of excited, and it was really funny because I looked at your silent self and I was like, all right, he has thoughts.
I do like it better than Scream 5 2022 Scream. That Scream just did a lot of things I did not like, totally.
Yeah.
But this film, I thought it was a lot better. I thought the characters overall were very well, since a lot of the actors were having fun. I thought the kills were great. So, I mean, some of them, no problems with, but we'll get into that later. I think it's rewatchable. I enjoyed it. Just hope for the next Scream that we do a lot of more things differently. But overall, I'd say it's pretty good.
That's fair. I teeter on liking or loving this movie because I think I really like it. I don't know if I love it just because I think the killer... wait, it's a spoiler review. Spoilers, spoiler alert, spoiler-free review. Go check it out, but now we're talking spoilers. I've said it now several times, so I just want to make sure before we just go into it. But yeah, spoiler alert, if you want to stick around. Hey, hi, how are you? I know for me, I didn't love the killer reveal. I didn't love the third act.
Yeah.
I think the third act is a lot of fun, and I think the performances elevated. I think that Dermot Mulroney does a great performance as this just crazy dude who just kind of lost it after losing his son. That sold me on having at least fun with the killer. In my spoiler-free review, I liken this movie to Scream 2 in the sense where I think you can go back, make it a movie. Like, I think in the Scream franchise, that'll get better and better over time. As time passes, I think I'll grow to love this movie more and more because I didn't love the killer reveal in Scream 2, but I think the performance of who played Mrs. Loomis and Timothy Olyphant were great, and they elevated those twists to a higher level. I do think the writing into the twist is clever. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it works for that movie very well. Same thing here, nothing groundbreaking is kind of a retread of Scream 2 in the sense that it's the family of Richie.
Yeah.
It is, and I think to its detriment it kind of is, but also I think the performances, again, ham it up to the point where I have fun, and I'm still at least having a fun time with the film and enjoying what I'm watching. It's still a tense time. It's still gritty. This one has more of a grisly nature to it than the third act of Scream 5, which I think just got kind of silly and wacky at points, where this one, I think it got down to intensity, and it knew how to play up the stakes there. What did you think of the third act overall? I want to hear your thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm changing.
No, I think it's good. Where are you going back with the second movie? They call out themselves for doing that, but it doesn't make it, really any better that they still do it. I mean, I get it. It's like a good callback to the second movie because they do, they have a lot of callbacks and references to all of it, with the whole room decorated with all the knives and costumes and masks. But the killer reveal, it was a nice twist, I guess. But I mean, it wasn't hitting hard, I guess, with the other killer. I can't even remember his name, the curly haired kid, because he was just kind of quiet. Kind of expected him. It just didn't really do anything for me. But I mean, the twist, the roommate, and you think she's dead, and then she's still alive. I thought that was pretty clever. I mean, it's like, okay, good. I didn't see that coming. Just rule her out as a suspect immediately.
Yeah, the roommate is the most clever one. The curly-headed dude, again, I'm blanking on his name. He's just kind of forgettable in the movie. His character was kind of rather underwritten to the most obvious degree, and kind of at a point where I was just like, all right, I'm not really, I'm sure you're going to be one of them. But the detective, to me, was a little too easy, but in the way where I was like, oh, that's too easy, so I did immediately write him off. So I think that was actually kind of clever on the movie in a way, because it's one of those twists like Timothy Olyphant in Scream 2. Again, I keep liking it in Scream 2. This movie, I need to stop doing that, but the point is, it's enjoyable to see a killer in this one where it's like, oh, I wrote him off as too easy because he just seemed too crazy, but that's clever, because then he's off your radar, and you're thinking about everyone else, or at least I was in that moment in the movie. So when he did come out to take the mask off and he was the killer, I was met with that weird feeling of, oh, that's it? Okay. But also, oh, okay, it works for this movie. I had that impact of being disappointed at first, where I was like, all right, this is just the family of the killer of the original. That's retreading the same territory. But I can't deny it, for this movie, it works. They're not bringing back someone from the dead. They're not doing anything that messes with the lore of the old movies, so I appreciate that. I would like that less. So between picking one or the two, I would go with this one, I literally did that reasoning in my head as the third act was going on, so by the point Sam and Tara team up, I was fully back into it, and I was having a good time with that moment, and the characters being like, all right, screw this, we're gonna own up, and we're not defined by our past. Let's kill these guys.
Can we just talk about how wacky it is when Tara stabs him in the mouth and then pretty much just twists the knife in there, and then later, like right at the end, he like comes back, just and then just gets demolished. Like it's just kind of wacky. The amount of times it's just like the amount of times people just get stabbed and they don't like necessarily die. I guess it's a bit wacky for me.
Yeah,
I just kind of find it more funny at the end.
There are moments, admittedly, like Chad, for example. The whole thing with Chad, I love Chad in this movie. I enjoy Chad as a character. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Chad is cool, man. He's Chad. He does his thing. Yeah. He's a cool dude. 4-4. Sam and Tara, he grew on me in this movie. Especially when he defends Tara at the beginning. We get that start with their two arcs where Sam and Tara, they're having trouble getting along now because Sam is very protective of Tara. Understandably so because of their trauma from the last movie. And Tara's not really trying to deal with it while Sam's going to therapy. Yet even Sam's therapist doesn't want to help her out. That was a really cool way to start these characters, and immediately I think elevated the stakes from what happened in Scream 5, so I was able to jump on board. It's like, okay, so now you took the elements of Scream 5 that at least worked, now you're putting them at the forefront here. Like Sam's struggle with the fear of being like her father, I think worked a lot better in this movie. Sam's fear of being like Billy in this movie, I think worked a lot more smoothly. Didn't mind the whole hallucination Billy thing as much this time. I hated it in Scream 5.
I hate it so much.
Yeah. Scream and supernatural, it's not supernatural elements, I get that. It's not a hallucination or a ghost, I understand. Well, it's not a ghost.
No sense.
Like, I get that it's not actually a ghost, but to me, the way the movie presents it, it comes across like a force ghost encouraging the main character, and that just doesn't work for Scream for me. And it's like with Scream 3 with those weird elements of having dreams about Signy's mom. They're dreams. It's just not what it doesn't never feels like Scream when that kind of stuff happens.
It makes no sense
personally, and that's okay if it works for you. I don't know what it is with my brain and not computing with that. It just doesn't work for me. I feel like there's a better execution of that. But I think Scream 6 is an example of that better execution. The way Billy shows up here, it's like just in a quick moment because the film has been telling us that Sam has that fear of becoming like her father. By that point where we get to the memorabilia of Stab and she's looking at the mirror, she thinks about Billy. And at that point, it's one quick scene. So you could buy more that it's in her head and it's this projection of an image going on with her mind. But in Scream 5, it was always so goofy to me.
It was wacky.
I'm glad they knew to show a little more restraint with that. I would appreciate it if we just don't get it at all by the next movie. We might, judging by how the trajectory of who Sam is as a character, but whatever. It worked for me here, so I'm glad they really improved upon that. What about you?
At the end of the movie, when Sam drops the ghost face mask, I just hope that that's the end of that arc, and we just do not get another Force ghost apparition of Billy in the new Scream when it comes out. Especially in Scream 5, I just thought they were building something with her, either becoming like some kind of serial killer or some shit. But in this one, it's just like it more makes sense that she is just worried. Her dad was just a terrible person, and it's just like, it can mess with you as a person. So I mean, I just hope that it's the end of that, and please no more.
Speaking of hope that's the end of that and please no more, Gail in this movie, I think she's fun. Do we need Gail again? No. We are going to get her again, probably, knowing how this series trajectory is going. But I will say this, we can finally vent our frustrations about this because they never got to talk spoilers for Scream 5. At least no one had to kill her at gunpoint and decided to answer a frickin' phone call.
Oh my god, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that ruined it. I'm so glad they just didn't do anything dumb like that.
Yeah.
It was unspeakable. Absolutely in the stages of denial. Just like, excuse me, did I really just witness that?
Yeah, that was something in Scream 5.
I thought they were actually going to kill Gale off this time, but no, apparently a lot of people can get stabbed multiple times and just live. Especially our boy Chad, he's invincible, I guess. Chad
took some hits in this movie, and he's a champ for it, I'll say that. Like, I love him as a character, so I don't mind him being back, but damn, he took some hits. Like, to a point where I'm like, how? Like, we got some superheroes in the franchise now, and that's cool, but I do hope Scream 7 dials it back just a little bit. I think this is like as far believable as I could take, with the stabbing being like Chad gets almost gutted up in this movie. He gets stabbed so many times. And he lives, and that's a miraculous thing that does happen in real life. Like, there are people that survive some crazy stuff in the world. The way the movie presents it, you're really selling me on the fact that he could be dead, and then you pull it's that retreading territory where it's like, okay, in Scream 1, we had a fake out with Dewey getting stabbed in the spine, and then he comes back, and he's actually in the hospital bed at the end. Gives a thumbs up. Iconic. We don't need to always repeat that with characters, Like, sometimes a good death is a good death in a movie, or it's tragic, or it's scary. So I could totally see the take where it's like, no, Chad should have died, and that actually took me out of the movie. That didn't take me out of the movie personally, but I could definitely see that argument a lot. Like, because, that was crazy how many hits. In terms of tension, I gotta say, the part that really got me going, for me, my two stand-ups are the ladder sequence with Ghostface and him trying to shake the ladder as they're trying to get everyone across. That was where the movie, I think, kicks on, and I didn't think it let off the brakes after that. Like, that was, for me, when I was fully... Like, I was already having a good time in the movie, but that's when I started loving the movie and just having a blast with it. I was like, all right, we're in the shit now. It's Scream. Let's go. Getting the ladder, leading into the freaking gas station portion, and then leading into the train. Like, all of that was so brilliant to me. What did you think about that?
The ladder scene was like pretty brutal. I see that's the one kill in this movie I think is like the most like brutal. Like a lot of the kills honestly just didn't really quite do it for me for this movie actually. Yeah, it's just like I can hear the impact of the stabs and everything, but it's just like kind of just feels like they're getting stabbed with nothing. The train scene, that I feel like that was probably like the most like tense scene in there. Yeah, and it's just like you're just freaking out. Someone's after you. It is Halloween. They play with the lights coming off and on. Just so many people. You don't really know who is like who. That was the most tense situation. The gas station scene honestly really didn't do it for me all that much. It just felt a little wacky in ways. Someone's literally like right over you with like the chip little counter, and you don't know they're there or not in a small little gas station. It felt wacky.
Hear me out. The reason I enjoyed that scene is because I feel like this is going to be a weird argument. I feel like the actual moment wasn't as slow as presented to us, if that makes sense. I think the moment was very much in the POV of Sam and Tara in that moment hiding in the gas station. And to our scenario, if we were outsiders in the gas station, like walking by, it would feel really quick. That whole interaction. But I think for them, it was the intensity of the moment. For them, it felt like the longest, like, 2 minutes of their life. Yeah. Hiding from Ghostface. Where you get the sense that he has the gun. He has the upper hand in the scene. He could have just run around the corner when, I feel like that would have happened if, they didn't get spotted through the thing and didn't push the shelf over. Sounds like a reach of defending this, but I think the movie was capturing their POV in the sense that to them, it felt like a long time of their hiding. Yeah. From Ghostface, where it did feel like a long sequence where he's just searching and searching and searching. But I think that was from their POV. Am I kind of reaching? I think so. But it worked for me. What can I say?
And overall, I mean, the movie wasn't like too wacky. I mean, besides just people surviving many stabbings, several people. I mean, I still have a fun time with it. Yeah. I still say the movie definitely does check off its little checklist, but I mean, it does its job.
I know I've seen some mixed reviews online of like the overall use of being meta with this one, like calling out rules and things like that in this movie. You were saying to me actually out of the movie, it didn't really work for you as much this time.
Yeah, no, not this time. It feels yucky, I guess, this time.
I could see that.
It's done. They've done it so many times. It's just like at this point, it doesn't do anything for me. It's like, all right, I get it.
It kind of feels like another checklist moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could see that. For me, it's the way the scene pops up. It just kind of happens. They just kind of cut to the scene, and then instead of like having a smooth transition into it, kind of like in Scream 5, admittedly, they had a smoother transition into that conversation, having Dewey come along and stuff. This one, they just kind of cut to a scene where Mindy's going off about the rules, so it kind of does feel just thrown in there last minute.
Yeah, like, it makes sense for her character.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was gonna go with that. Is because if it was any other character, it would feel annoying to me. But the fact that it's Mindy, who is, the niece of Randy, for me, I think it makes total sense, and it works for her character because she's a movie freak. She loves films, and she's always like this. Even one of the characters points out, they're like, she always like this, and they're like, because like that's her, man, and I want to marry her and protect her. I actually do think a better use of the meta commentary was when Mindy and Kirby to sit down and start talking about movies for a second. That was fun.
That was fun.
Because they're both little movie freaks. Like,
and it was great. It was great seeing Kirby again, just kind of make a return, and also the twist that it did with her. With our killer feeling like, oh no, she quit the FBI. They fired her. She's the one that's crazy, and then it's like, no, he's the one that's crazy.
That was a really good.
Like, okay, you got me with that.
That did fake me out. Admittedly, I think this movie does a good job with its fake out. With Kirby especially, I genuinely believe like, oh, she could be the killer. I thought that also worked to his benefit because I'm really relieved Kirby wasn't. I'm glad she's part of the squad that isn't, bad. And I thought making her a
Yeah.
detective was so clever, and it was a cool way of showing how she took what she went through in 4 and turned it into a strength where she wanted to help other people and not letting that happen again. I thought that was a really cool way of coming back around as a bookend for her character, and I thought it was poetic. I enjoyed actually the use of Kirby more in this movie than the movie's use of Gale in terms of bringing back legacy characters. I thought Kirby worked and was there. Gale just feels shoehorned into this one. Like, I think the way she acts is, I am a bit negative on. Like, it's fun seeing her, and I don't think it's as much of a middle finger to the legacy characters as 5 is with Dewey.
Yeah.
But I think she's in the movie and adds for a fun scene of playing with us in terms of the writing. I said this movie's fun, but playing with expectations, it is. It plays with my expectations on what they could do to Gale and legacy characters. In the long scene, Ghostface calls Gale and comes after her, and then she gets stabbed, and then she's sitting there, and then she's passing out saying, like, they didn't get me. Tell them that he didn't get me. And then you have people from the hospital come in and check her pulse, and it's like, oh, we got a bit of a pulse. And, they spent so much time playing with that, it was almost comedic to a point.
Yeah.
But it made me laugh.
Character just kind of was there.
Yeah, she just exists in this movie. And
Yeah.
I mean, if we didn't get Gale in the next one, I would be okay with that personally.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
We probably will.
I just feel like they need to do a lot of things differently for the next Scream for it to actually do something for me. Because if I see a lot of repeats, if I don't get something that's a bit original from Scream, that would make me pretty sad, honestly. Because I love Scream. Obviously, nothing will compare to the original, but I would like to see something different. Just take a breath of fresh air instead of doing a lot of repeat stuff. This one, it's fine. They did a lot of good callbacks. I mean, in ways I thought it was a bit original. Just with like the room of everything, all the masks, all those knives, just bits and pieces of the history that happened throughout all the movies. I mean, fine. It's nice. Good callback. We love Scream, but please, let's get something a little fresh next time.
I feel that. And because for the first 2 acts of this movie, it feels very fresh, in the sense that, like, I do think the third act really copies Scream 2 to its detriment. But those first 2 acts, it feels fresh as hell. Tension, there's good pacing, the sequences are great, the train sequence is awesome, the gas station, to me, is awesome. The ladder sequence is great. I even like the opening. I think the opening of this movie is the best Scream opening since Scream 1. Subverted my expectations. I love that we saw the Ghostface guy take his mask off, and we thought we got the killer reveal right away. I was like, oh, interesting. And the way that scene builds to a bigger kill, and then we get the Ghostface. Just a really fresh way to do it, and I'm glad they did that.
The movie starts out like fresh, but then it just, I constantly will see like repeats throughout the movie. That's when it starts to feel real repetitive. Because certain ways it feels like lazy writing because they didn't quite know what to do, so they just took past stuff that they did and just kind of incorporated it in this one. I mean, it starts out fresh, it's nice, but then it's like, okay, all right, I see what you're doing, but I mean, it's okay.
Especially annoying sometimes for me when the movie wants to call itself out on treading territory then it thinks it's clever for that, but I feel like it's actually using it as a crutch to get away with retreading certain territories sometimes. Sometimes I think it does work to its benefit, and the sequels are being very clever with how they're calling back to those original Scream films. And sometimes it comes across like you can get away with it because you're just a Scream movie, so we can be meta and just laugh at it. Yes, to a point, but sometimes I just need something a little more fresh, like fire yourself out on certain things and then break the trend, break the formula, do something a little different, but, still please fans, of course. Who knows what that means? I mean, I'm not making these movies. It's such an interesting one with a killer reveal that didn't work for me, but still overall the movie still works for me because of the character arcs. I was really satisfied with seeing Sam and Tara front those fears by the end and have Sam drop the mask and kill the killers and really use her fear of what to become as a strength to defend her family. That was endearing. I'm sucking with sibling relationship, and that's what made the movie work for me overall. But those are my closing thoughts. I thought Scream 6 was a lot of fun, even with its flaws. But what about you, man?
Overall, it's good. Good character arcs. It's, of course, no movie is perfect. I mean, except for some. Well, I can still have fun with it. It's not terrible where I'm laughing at it. It's a good time.
Hey, upgrade from Scream 5. I'm happy about that.
As long as it's an upgrade from that movie, I'm happy.
What did you guys think of Scream 6? Spoiler thoughts. Go for it if you see this. Thank you so much for watching. This is our scatterbrained review on Scream 6 with spoilers. I think this is our first spoiler talk. I think. Is it? Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, this has got to be our first spoiler video. Yeah. If we're wrong, tell us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.